Hey everybody, welcome to A Culinary Journey. I'm Luca. I'm going to be your host on this journey on the day before Christmas. It's Christmas Eve, and in my house and growing up, we basically had this amazing celebration. That's the best way to call it. It's a celebration of fishes. There's La Vigilia, which is basically it's Little Christmas or the day before Christmas, where we are not allowed to have any meat in our family, and we have to have a course of 7 fishes. Each course has to have a different fish. Needless to say, I got through them all pretty well. So our show today is 3 of the 7 fishes you might have seen at my house. So we're going to have kind of variations, so there might be things you can find. We have things like bacala. Now bacala, if you get called a bacala, that's not a good thing. And I got called that a lot, usually when I did something wrong, and that's what my dad would call me. But if you enjoyed bacala, which is a salted cod, you'd absolutely love it. Now, you might not find that all around here that often or in some of your areas, so what we're going to do is just take fresh cod and do a fried version of a bacala or fried cod as one of our first. We're doing mussels fra diavolo, or since we're on Christmas Eve, I don't know, mussels of the devil works well. Let's go mussels arrabbiato, or angry mussels with a little bit of spice, some cayenne pepper or pepperoncini. In this case, we're going to use pepperoncini, diced tomatoes, and we're going to have mussels. And then we're going to do a really simple shrimp scampi, and I think you're going to love beyond belief. So 3 of the 7 fishes get enjoyed today. And guess what? Your culinary journey on Christmas Eve starts now. Hey everybody, welcome back to A Culinary Journey. Hey, the first thing we're going to make today on our journey is our cod. Again, we would usually do salt cod, which is bacala in Italian. And bacala was actually salted. And the way they preserved things back in the day is they had to salt it to be able to last the whole year, or during the summer months or the dry months, because you don't only could rely on the winter to keep things cold. The rest of the year you didn't have that. So they would salt the cod that they would fish out of the water, so it was preserved year round. Now, that takes a long process to get the salt out. It's about 2 or 3 days where you change the water and you get the salt out of the cod, so then you can get it back to where it goes. What I'm going to use is just fresh cod that you can pick up at the supermarket to do the same thing. We used to do a fried bacala or fried cod, and we'd make a batter that goes with it. I'm going to give you a simple batter that kind of resembles a beer batter. And in this case, what we're going to do is take some flour, some cornstarch, some beer, and some eggs. So we're going to get all our dry ingredients together. We're going to give it a little flavor with some salt and pepper, a little bit of paprika. And this one's going to be served really easily. Now, the idea behind the 7 fishes, and at least at our house, what we've noticed is that there's a lot of cooking going on. And with all this cooking going on, it was more of a feast, and you cooked as you went. So it wasn't like, oh, we have to get everything ready because everyone's coming over. There's no way you're going to get this much food ready at one time. So what we would do is the grandmothers, the moms, even the dads would all cook as the day went on, and each dish was cooked right there for the next step. So the bacala, some of it would be prepared, but the rest would be done as we went on. What's great about it is my main job was to go in there and steal as much food as possible while they were cooking. I had a good life. No, I wasn't cooking anything. I was just enjoying, and that's the best part about it. So I would sneak in, but I, at the same time, would get some great ideas, and I would add that to what I do now. So it was really great to see the whole family put stuff together like that. It was even more fun when you got invited over to somebody else's house, and then your mom didn't worry that much about what you did. You got to run amok. Let's get a little beer in there. We're going to make this like a beer batter. So we're going to pour our beer into there, some eggs, the cornstarch, and the flour. Settle down there. Well, I might have put a little too much beer. I got excited. That's okay. It'll work. Just add some more flour. Now, I use an IPA, a Dead Guy IPA. And it's going to be really great. Yeah, we need a little bit more flour to add to this. Mix it up. Again, we got all our flavor in there. Let's go. And then we'll add our fish to that. So we'll just put this over here for now. Cut down our fish to the size we need, and we're going to kind of season our fish too. The meatier parts of the fish are where we want to go for the batter. All right there. Cut them off. And this would be a course that we would have over the course of the day. One of the simple courses, let's cut 3 pieces just to get us going for that. We're going to season the fish at the same time too. Even though the batter has been seasoned, we want to season the fish a little bit. Where's our salt and pepper? You'd think I knew where that salt and pepper after all these shows we do. Ta-da. And we're going to dip them in the batter. Check our oil, make sure it's hot enough, and we'll see where we go from there. So the best part about these dinners was the eating part and getting together with family, friends, and all that cool stuff. Let's see how our oil's doing. Sometimes, I think we're almost there. Let me get it on. Is it on? Is it on? It's on. Oh, yeah, it's on. And we're going to just, now it's going to be a light batter. It's not going to be one of those really flaky big batters, but what it'll do is just going to coat the outside of it, and we'll get it going in there and cooking the fish. All right? Almost like a light liquid batter. All right, so let's jump on to our next dish because we're going to make our mussels at the same time. Again, everything is kind of quick. It's really, the mussels are going to be fast. Just doing some of the mise en place or getting together the ingredients, that's going to take a little time. Doing the batter for the fish, that was the hardest part about it, and then we're just going to let it cook. Doing the shrimp, when we do the shrimp scampi, those are going to be quick also. So it's about being quick because they did want to cook in the house, but at the same time, they didn't want to spend too much time being in the kitchen. Although, for me, that was the most fun place to be. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start cutting up these tomatoes. We'll let the fish fry right there. I'm going to cut up these tomatoes. Basically, I'm going to take out the inside here. And then we're going to break these down because we're going to saute them with the mussels. There you go. And while I'm doing this, let's take a quick little break. I'll have all these tomatoes cut up for you when I come back. We'll start on the mussels, and then we'll start on that shrimp, okay? So don't go away. We're frying. We're doing Christmas Eve, and we're doing a lot of cool things on this culinary journey. Be back in a minute. All right. Oh, these are beautiful. Nice lightly. There's got a little beer batter on the outside of this. You can still see the fish. This is our first dish, and we cooked it all the way through by frying it. Really simple. Here, let's get a nice shot of that. I'm going to do some garnishing to that in a little bit. But let's let that cool off a little bit and get started on our mussels. Our mussels arrabbiata, or our spicy mussels. So I have a nice big pan going on back here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut down all these tomatoes and get them cooking in the pan with some pepperoncini too. So you could do them a couple of different ways. You can cut them up small, big, however you want. I just like to use the fresh tomatoes, and we'll break them down. Now you notice we didn't use any of the inside of the tomato, but what you do with that is pretty awesome. Don't throw that away. That's if you're going to be making a marinara sauce or any type of red sauce. Take the inside of the tomato, seeds and all, because you're going to probably blend it up, and use that as part of to go with your canned tomatoes or what have you. It's not only going to be a nice filler, but it also adds to the sauce. So, and you're not wasting it or throwing it away where it shouldn't go. You could just keep using products. So everything finds its place. A good French chef once taught me, he says, you know, we don't waste anything, whether it's a stock, whether it's a soup, whether it's a sauce. Any item that I have, I use a second time. Everything has a multiple use. And that's the same thing. That's why bones are great to keep. And that's why if you're breaking down fish or even your lobster, you're eating your lobster, what you do with it later is you make a little lobster stock out of it. It's a lot of great things you could do with all these extra products that you have that some people just throw away. Well, we're not going to let that happen here. So our fradiado, what we need is a little oil in the pan, right? We're going to take our tomatoes, get those in there, let them get nice and stewed almost, right? Get some heat on there. No garlic in this one. One of the things that we've seen a lot at my house is there are items that have garlic, there are items that don't. And I would always ask, well, why don't you put it in there? Because they didn't want to. And after that, I learned not to ask any more questions. So whatever they wanted is what they wanted. So if Grandma said that's all we're doing, that's all we're doing. So then I'm going to add a little spice to this ahead of time. We're going to get some pepperoncini. These are just basically little vinegar spice peppers. They're not super hot, but they're hot enough to just take a little, give you that little bite you need. If you want it a little hotter, here's where you add some red pepper flakes. Don't put it too hot. Remember, if you have kids around, you want to make sure they get to enjoy it too. All right, and the other thing I'm going to do in there, and this was a trick that an aunt once did for me. She didn't squeeze the lemon. She threw the lemon in. Now, why? Guess what she said? Because I want to. And I said, okay, whatever you say. And I just kept going. Then we're going to throw our mussels in there too. That's it. All right. This is all this dish really needs. We're going to add a little bit of red wine, salt and pepper, and we're good to go. So let's let that cook down. Let's go back to our, oh, I used all the tomatoes up. I meant to save some for the garnish. Let's chop some fresh parsley and capers and put it over our fried bacala, and that's what we have there. Now the mussels are really easy to make. Once they open up, they're basically done. You can actually buy fresh or frozen mussels. Now if you do have a concern about mussels and you say, well, I've never really cooked with them, I'm worried about it, what do I do? So first of all is get to know your fishmonger. And if they tell you, they'll tell you basically what you need to do for mussels. They'll say two things. One, you want to find mussels that don't smell at all. You need them to just have this ocean scent to them. And the other thing is you want them to be closed. Well, they'll open up when they're cooked. Putting a little lemon juice over our fried bacala or our fried cod. Real simple, and that dish is done. These are all about simplicity, these dishes, on the day before Christmas. And then let's check out our mussels and see how they're doing. That's all going to cook down really nicely. We have our red wine, we have our salt and pepper, we have our mussels cooking in there. We're going to kind of steam them away. And the last thing we'll get started on is our shrimp. And this is really simple. Talk about a simple dish. Making it quick is a shrimp scampi. We're going to get some oil in this pan. And then we're going to start cooking up our shrimp. But do you see how quick these are? This is just 3 of the 7 that we would do. Some people have actually done all the way up to 13. And 7 would probably be for the 7 days a week, or 7 sacraments. There are a lot of different stories. There are 13 that say they're for the 12 apostles plus Jesus. All these great ideas that through history have kind of morphed into it. I actually feel it's that since they were all fishermen, they wanted people to eat fish as much as possible. So they made the day before Christmas, or the celebration of his birth, all about fish. And if you're a real Italian, you haven't eaten fish for the last 6 weeks before Christmas, because that's a no-no when you talk about Catholic Italians. But you know, I don't follow that all the time. I just like fish, so that's why I eat it. So we're going to get our shrimp in there. And we're going to let our shrimp saute a little bit with some garlic, but I'm not going to put the garlic in right away. Now, depending on how many people you have at your house, and in our house, some days, it was a lot. We would have a lot of this stuff cooking, and each person would almost bring a different dish. One of the coolest things that happens right now for me is that for this generation, I'm actually the chef on La Vigilia, or Christmas Eve. And what's cool about being a chef on that day in New England is that I get to share some of the traditions that my wife's family has. So she's not Italian, I am. We came up here and doing the bacala, the eel, some of the things that she would have been like, I'm not eating any of that, didn't quite work out. So we actually do New England clam chowder as one of the 7 fishes. It's really cool. So otherwise, we try and also stick with some of the really traditional stuff. Cooking the shrimp is super easy. All you really need to do for the shrimp is get them till they get from their gray, going from gray to pink, right? You just want to flip them over. Once they start turning, we start adding other ingredients. We want a little bit of garlic in the pan. And if you like a lot of garlic, we add a lot of garlic. That was from my father-in-law. A little salt and pepper in the pan. We're going to squeeze lemon juice and a little bit more. Now, this is what I'm going to do next. So I'm going to reduce this down. we have our mussels going. We have our shrimp scampi going. We have a little bit of vermouth going into our scampi. And then we'll make a roux when we come back. So don't go away. What I'm going to do is get this party going. When we come back, we're going to finish it all up. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Feast of the Seven Fishes. Don't go away. Hey everybody, welcome back to this culinary journey with little Christmas, or the day before Christmas in mind. La Vigilia, the day before Christmas. And we have our shrimp scampi that we're finishing up. We just add capers to this, just to give it a little bit of vinegary bite, really nice. Can't go wrong. And then what we do is take some flour and butter, dip the butter in the flour, and that's going to help us finish the sauce. So we had some vermouth in there, garlic, the shrimp, the capers. Real simple. I'm going to salt and pepper it just a little bit more. And then both of these with some flat Italian parsley, we would chop up for both the mussels, there we go, the mussels and the shrimp. Now, no good Italian meal could ever be served without pasta. And usually the shrimp scampi would get that pasta. And that's going to also add to the thickening of the sauce. So what we would do is chop fresh parsley. And that was one thing I had an uncle who would say to me, you know, you have to chop the parsley right before you use it. None of this pre-chopping stuff. And sometimes he'd think when he sees what I do sometimes to prepare for some items, he'll be like, oh, not a good way to do it. And then the other thing we do as Italians is you toss the pasta into the sauce. You never pour over. That's almost like a no-no. And let's do the mussels first. Show you what that looks like. These look absolutely wonderful. With the tomato sauce that we made from those tomatoes, right? Look how beautiful that looks. And she used to leave, I remember eating the lemons out of there because they had such great flavor and they'd still be nice and tart. Look at that. Where are my mussels? Anybody know how to eat a mussel without a fork? Okay, I've shown you this on the show before, haven't I? Get one of the other mussels that's already there. Hold on a second. Don't mind me. I'm just eating on TV. Yummy. That is a great dish. Not too spicy, but spicy enough to make me happy. And then we'll toss around this beautiful pasta. And this would be in a big bowl, right? Right in the middle. Do we have another one of those? You know, it brings back a lot of memories from family. As we got older and as people passed on, it changed. First it started at my Uncle Alfio's house and then kind of moved around, and then it became with friends. But always, 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 and even up to today, when it's with my new family and my children, it always revolved around the food that we loved. And people would get to pick one of the 7 fishes. And I usually picked 4 or 5, but they only let me have one. But I ate all 7, and I was one of the few that made it a whole way through. So that's the Feast of the 7 Fishes in the smaller condensed version to fit in our lovely 22 minutes. But we started with a version of a fried bacala, a light batter. It's a beer batter on the outside, gives a nice light crispiness, but when it fries, it cooks all the way through. It's not oily at all. It's absolutely beautiful. We did our shrimp scampi with some capers, and then we finished it off with some mussels, fra diavolo or arrabbiata. You pick the name, but either way, just a little bit of spice to go in there. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Day. Great holidays from all of us to all of you. And I'll see you on our next culinary journey.